Hello, hello, live stream people. How are we doing? What's going on? Happy Friday. Can you guys hear me? Can you see me? I do have the fan going right now because it's quite hot in this room. So if it's too loud, let me know and I can take it down a level. It shouldn't. It's like about as far away from my microphone as I can possibly make something be in this setup arrangement, but the microphone, very powerful mic, so might still pick something up. I think it looks like it's probably okay. Well, happy Friday to everyone. I hope you are doing well. How's everyone doing? What's going on? We are having some beautiful, unexpected Friday weather here. Finally, it like went fully from winter to summer is basically what happened. I wasn't really expecting that. It went from 55 and rainy to 85 and sunny. As one does, I suppose, in the Portland area. And actually, Seattle's not too dissimilar from that. Oh, I have a cool straw today. It's got like a little pink paw print on it. Look at this. So cute. Because it is curly straw weather. I actually had a bunch of these when I was a kid from when I lived in Florida. Oh, she's leaving. Is she going to stay on screen? Okay, good. There she is. She literally at 5:58, she got in the bed perfectly. And I was like, yes. I set the trap perfectly, the cute little doggo trap. Let's see if we can keep her on screen. There we go. It's a little hot, though. She may not want to be in the bed. She probably just wants to find somewhere nice and cool with her big fluffy coat. But anyways, I had a bunch of these from when I was a kid that were all... I remember them being really cool and high quality, but they were probably really cheap Disney stuff. We got them at Disney World when we were there. And like Goofy and Minnie and everything. And I always wanted some more, and now I have some again. And I love them, and they are truly the only way to drink water. I look so fancy with my fancy water. Well, look, I'm about to ask somebody to get me half a grapefruit. Like, that's how I feel right now. There's a black cat on my bed. This pleases me. Aww. Kitties do like being places near where humans are warm. Every curly straw reminds me of Teletubbies. Hopefully in a good way, at least. Hopefully in a good way. I'm doing well. Yes, we are having an unexpectedly hot day today in PDX. Be patient with us. Yeah, it's we're going back to 60 and rainy on Monday, so maybe even Sunday. I think actually at this point it's supposed to cool off again. We're only getting really, I don't know what's going on with that weather-wise. We're getting 2 days of pretty solid heat, which, you know, will be good and bad, I suppose. A little taster for what the rest of the summer has in store. All right, let's go back top of chat here. Bouncing between ThriveCon here. Oh yeah, because today's the first day of Thrive. I didn't get to do anything with that yet today. I've just been back to back stuff this morning. Filmed a video, doing this. Had some like vanilla life stuff to take care of. So no Thrive conference yet, but if you guys don't know what Thrive is, it is an annual online free mental health conference that talks about BDSM and the intersections of mental health and disability and neurodivergence and all of that stuff that sometimes gets ignored or sidelined in more mainstream BDSM conversations. So check it out if you've not already. Recommended it so many times. I believe the website is thrivevirtualcon.com, I think. But I don't know if you can still sign up for it because it's technically already started because it's Friday. I wish there was a way to make sure you guys could see the paw. I guess you guys can kind of see the water go up in the straw. Or the straw turns a little bit darker. I don't know if you guys can see it. Like if I'm over here. Like that'd be really cool with like a colored juice in it and a clear straw, but you know, I'm doing what I can with what I got, alright? Gonna be nice to unwind with this stream. I had a busy day today. Me too, Lexi, me too. Probably not as busy as yours, but I got to get ready to film videos. I filmed videos. I got done about 5:30-ish, and I basically had enough time to like change clothes and eat some dinner, make some dinner, and then I came back upstairs and made sure all the cameras and everything were hooked up, and here we go. Yes, good night, and good evening, and springtime. Salutations, everyone. Yes, indeed. I was just watching the new Aftercare vid. Well, I hope you liked it. I enjoyed making it. It was really fun to revisit it. Aftercare was one of those things where when I look back on my videos, I'm like, how have I not just talked about this as a standalone video yet? Because I've talked about it in like bits and pieces with other videos, and obviously I've talked about it with an early video I have from years and years ago. But I never made like a standalone, like everything you need to know about Aftercare video, and it was definitely time. So we did. Oh, waiting at the DMV, that sucks. I had to renew my tabs recently, and luckily it was a very quick in and out experience, but anything more detailed than that, and like, DMV, not fun at all. Greetings from Illinois. Is there a BDSM party game you recommend for a few like-minded friends for an evening get-together? Like a party game you can turn into a kinky game, or like a board game that's already kinky to start with? I will think about that. Really quickly though, before we get too far into it, I do want to say 18 plus only live stream. Please read the rules and FAQ down below. It is linked in the description. Also, this is an interactive Q&A. The main focus of these live streams are, oh, there were hearts going. Can you guys like, is this like Instagram? Can you guys do like hearts now and like emojis and stuff? I've never seen that before. How is that happening? I don't see that on my end. How is that possible? That's cool. I have to look into that more at some later point and just see. Anyways, 18 plus only live stream, interactive Q&A. I usually put a few topic suggestions in the title of the live stream just to give us a starting point maybe. But really it's whatever y'all want to talk about, be it party ideas or scene ideas or what to do for an outdoor scene, or what do I think about like a certain BDSM hot topic, or relationship advice, or polyamory, or sexuality. It doesn't have to be BDSM. It could be anything y'all want. It could be hot news items. It could be like, I don't know, influencer gossip. It could be poly stuff, asexuality stuff, like I said, relationship advice, all of that. So don't feel constrained to just like talking about BDSM, because BDSM, at least for most of us, is a part of our lives, but it's not our whole life. And so naturally other things are going to come up too that we might have questions about. And I think a lot of it's all technically interrelated at some point. So yeah, anyway, just wanted to say that real quickly. I go in order of questions as they come in. So be sure to ask your question early, because I do keep an eye on the current chat and then the chat that I'm like keeping track of the questions on. And so I will look for follow-up questions, clarifications, add-ons. I will oftentimes look for y'all's thoughts as well if you want to offer your opinions and insights in the chat. I love that. I think it's great that we have a really nice big community here during these streams, where it's not like so many people to where like you can't really see what anyone is saying in particular. You get to really know people in the chat, which is great. And then also everyone has their own perspectives, insights, experiences, and that can be really helpful for getting to know multiple different ways of looking at something and finding a consensus maybe, and sometimes we don't. But yeah, anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. I think the first thing that I saw was the one I was just reading, but let me make sure. Cut finally made my wish come true. They did a kink version of their button speed. Wait, they did? Okay, I'm gonna have to, I haven't seen that yet. I must have missed that. Because I look every week for new BDSM videos. Oh my gosh, you're right. Kinky singles try to find love. Oh, I gotta make a video about this. I think I've seen... And then like the next video before that one is just called From 1 to 10, How Racist Are You? The cut is... They have a method for videos, don't they? Alright, I'm putting that on my watch later. Don't spoil it. The thumbnail looks cute. Everyone in the thumbnail looks cute. The person on the right with like the big earrings looks very sweet, and hopefully it should be a fun time.
When you started
They also have a video of women before and after removing their makeup that has almost 500,000 views, and I'm like, God damn, you just made a 5-minute video of people using a makeup removing wipe, and then like, it's funny. Awkward singles reject each other with a click of a button. Yeah, that's the other one that was from last week. Yacht crewmates play truth or drink below deck. Oh, isn't that's like a reality TV show now, isn't it? Wow. Okay, that should be fun. I don't know how many. I mean, their views are kind of all over the place. They have ones like 100,000 views. They have ones with almost 1 million views, 500,000 views. And all right, I have to look at that one. That sounds like that could be a. I'm hoping it'll be a fun time and not cringy. And I'm curious what they define as being kinky. I feel like I've seen one of these button videos before, but it was a really long time ago to remember it. So anyways, I'm excited for that. It'll be fun to check out maybe at some point. But thank you for making me aware. Getting called in to work on your day off is no fun. Lots of stuff going on. Okay, I'm trying to get to that question again. Am I the one that gets fixated on the bandit cam and just filters everything else? I mean, I guess the bandit cam, you know how on TikTok there's the trend of you've got the kinetic sand and that one like mobile game and then like the actual video and then like a music video or like a Family Guy episode or whatever, and it's like a 4-way quadrant of videos just to keep you occupied because everyone has ADHD very severely on TikTok, I suppose, or something. I'm not sure what the point behind that is. I guess this is my version of that, is just like, look at my cute tiny dog sleep and her big floofy fluffy tail, because she's very floofy and she loves naps. That's her personality. She's floofy and she loves naps and being outdoors. Just enjoying the sunshine. A girl after my own heart, truly. All right. I called it Sprummer at work today. That feels accurate. Oh, it's gonna be spring again in a couple days, but it's definitely full summer weather at the minute. Love the straw so much, so cute. Yeah, it's from Amazon. I just got like a whole bunch of these, and I don't know how expensive they were, but you know, I got like 50 of them, so I have to find a way to gift them to people because I have entirely too many. I can only drink from crazy straws. Yes, it's because of the Florida. They did that to me. All right, let's get back to the BDSM party game question. So I have been to a lot of parties where they have wanted to make board games happen and then no board games ended up being played. I feel like the classic suggestion is usually something like Cards Against Humanity or a strip game, right? Like strip poker or strip Jenga. I feel like strip Jenga is actually like a fairly popular one. Charades as well. Strip charades, is that a thing people do? It could be. You could make that happen. I'm not really that big on party games outside of that. I mean, I feel like there's so many variations, right? You could do like pin the tail on the donkey, but it's either a pet player in a suit that's like got Velcro on it, and like you got to find the Velcro spot on the pet player in like the donkey onesie and then pin the tail on the pet player wearing the donkey onesie. Or if you have somebody who's into needle play and has a relatively expansive and open risk profile, that could also be a good option too. Or the other common, I guess, like, I don't know, it was like spin the bottle, right? I guess you could do, I've seen people do like spin the bottle, but then instead of like kissing, it's like a spanking, like with spin the bottle with like truth or dare, and then like it's like I don't know, like that kind of thing. Although like you get into sort of fuzzy areas. Thing is a lot of vanilla party games in which consent is not an explicit conversation, it's assumed by participation. And so you do have to modify the game rules a little bit to make it more like, yeah, if you don't want to participate, that's okay. If you don't want a particular person to spank you, that's also fine. You get a little bit difficult to make it work in the exact traditional way that they normally would. Lap Dance for Your Life is a fun game. Think musical chairs, but lap dance edition. Okay, sure. Yeah, I feel like I've heard of that before, but I haven't seen people do that. Yes, I am live. It is true. I have been live for A little bit now. The one and only dungeon party I have been to had Naked Twister. Oh, yeah. Naked Twister is a popular one. You could do, like, Kinky Simon Says. I feel like that would be a really good one to do as well, like, especially for, like, a party with littles or just, you know, I mean, I feel like for many of us, our first taste of Power Exchange probably had to be with playing Simon Says, right? Kinky Chess, Strip and Spank Jenga. I once played sub ping pong at a conference. You play with 2 subs, arms up, and 2 wood pizza paddles. You lay out a court and smack away. Okay, yeah. One time for an outdoor event, we did like virtual like Pokemon fights. Like at the time, Pokemon Go and all the various other more recent Pokemon games are really, really popular. And so a lot of people were into Pokemon, and that was like an easy transition. I was just going to say my DS relationship is basically 24/7 Simon Says. I mean, really at the end of the day, most of the fundamentals that we need for life and relationships, kinky and vanilla, originally start quite young. So that's not surprising at all. Let's see, other kinky games. I mean, I feel like there's one that involves like slapping people's hands, but I don't remember what that one's called. Trying to think, what is that like roulette, obviously, I think would be a good choice. I've seen one recently that was actually like a TikTok video that was like a water balloon game where you had to walk underneath a water balloon and then like poke it with a needle until it finally exploded on somebody. I feel like that could be good. Obviously, there's being a human piñata, which is that a game? Like, what defines a game? Surprisingly hard to define that actually in the dictionary and like not exclude anything. But being a kinky piñata, right? You're trussed up in some bondage or in some kind of thing, and you're holding a bunch of candy, and then people have to beat you until you finally drop the candy. That can also be a good one. We had a party where everyone got money to start based on how much alcohol they brought, and its quality. The goal was to have the most money that night. Okay, yeah. So it's sort of like an auction thing, maybe. Yeah, I mean, like kinky auctions is definitely face slapping contest. Oh yeah. Like the Russian, like the face slapping contests. Yeah, because that's actually like a professional competitive sport now, face slapping. High risk, obviously. We definitely need to have a lot of rules about that. Lube wrestling, also popular in the similar vein as that. I think Arkham Horror would be a great for a kinky night. Oh yeah, video games, of course, yeah, because it doesn't have to just be like kinky karaoke is also really popular too for games. I mean, having people spend 1 or 2 hours just trying to figure out the rules, the kind of boredom kink that makes me laugh. Oh yeah. I've definitely like had people over and like played Bloodborne and like Dark Souls games, so that's also a thing. And like in like a kink context. God, there's so many options. Like, it's actually, you think originally, oh, it's hard to like, how do you make a kinky game? But then you start thinking about it, and there's just so many ways to do that. I feel like Twister is probably like maybe the obvious choice, but there's so many other things you could do too. A friend had a birthday party where we played Telestrations, and it got hilarious. I feel like I've heard of that before. What is Telestrations? Telestrations. I've definitely seen this. Oh, it's the Sketchpad game. Yeah. It's got sketchbook and markers. Okay, it's got like, there's like an Amazon thing. I'll just read real quickly because I don't. It says, Telestrations, the original for 8 players, is what got the party started. Over 1,700 words, 8 erasable sketchbooks, 8 dry erase markers, 8 cleanup cloths. Perfect for families, small parties, and friends. LOL, fun for everyone. No drawing skills required, stick figures and sense of humor welcome. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Okay, here. Is there a... Telestrations is the visual version of the classic telephone game where you draw what you see and then guess what you saw to reveal her. Okay, yeah. I haven't played this exact game, but I think I've played a very similar game to it before. Yeah. And of course, if you want to get into more like the game is like a boredom play, sadomasochistic experience, so you can get into those games that take like 5 hours to play. You know, you get I guess probably like Mario Kart I feel like, or no, Mario Party actually, in terms of video games, would be a fun one too, because like there's definitely like a room for power exchange in being part of a Mario Party experience. I'm currently at ThriveCon, and they have confirmed that you can register through Sunday afternoon. Okay, great. So if you guys haven't signed up for Thrive yet, you should go ahead and do that if you want to have opportunities. I have tons of classes for stuff about neurodivergence and neurodiversity, ADHD, autism, emotional, I said that weird, I feel like autism, emotional regulation, tons of good skills if you guys want to check that out. Instead of doing a kinky game, I find it easier to think what to play and then it's easy to think of how to make a kinky. Yeah. Sure. Oh, of course, there's even like hide and seek, right? Like there's like almost any game you can like, yeah, exactly. I just said that before reading the comment, but Deji pointed it out already, which is hide and seek, and when found you get spanking. I mean, yeah, you could be like hide and seek, but then you get like captured, or like cops and robbers, right? That's like another one of those, like, I had an early kink awakening because I played this game. Like, I think a lot of people have that from cops and robbers and being on one side or the other. Absolutely. The mister used to make me play against him in Mario Kart, but I had to play wearing oven mitts. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And like in a good way though, that's funny. Love it. Does hog tying a sub before letting them out of chastity with a sex toy nearby count as a game because it happened once? Maybe time it? I mean, yeah. I mean, the line between a game and a scene is actually quite thin. I want to watch pets try to play video games or Jenga type games with pommets. Oh, that would be a good one. Absolutely. Or like you have littles play a game, but then like you're not allowed to read the directions because you're too little to read. So to figure out how to play the game on their own. Or like even just playing Candyland or like kind of the more simple, like childhood friendly games, right? Primal hide and seek is my favorite. Listen, don't give me ideas. Don't throw me with a good time. There's somebody I gotta run that idea past now because that would be a fun one. I mean, Primal hide and seek, I've done like versions of that sort of outside before. I don't know if this organization is still around, but there was a group in California that would do this, and then I did this occasionally during the summer as well, where we would have like a fox hunt, where it ended up like originally was foxes, and then it became anyone, prey animal, whoever wanted to be chased in the woods, they would get a head start. They could go hide in the woods. They'd get like a 15-20 minute head start to go run off and hide somewhere. And then there'd be a team of owners, hunters, and predator animals, and people that wanted to go seek and find out would go run after and try to find the hidden creatures. And it was a really fun game. Lots of fun times were had. And you could make it anywhere you wanted to, between like a tag football experience, like a not tag, flag football, that's what it's called. A flag football experience all the way over to like full on takedown wrestling, tie somebody up, transport them like they're a hog about to be spit roasted, and like, you know, you could have it be anything on the spectrum, and that was really, really fun. I mean, really at the end of the day, like BDSM and scenes are about play, right? They're about having play and fun time. Okay, I'll amend this statement slightly. For me, I think a lot of BDSM can be about fun and play and creativity and novel experiences, maybe even, and having that joy and that freedom and fun that we don't oftentimes get to have in everyday life. Now, not all BDSM is that way, right? Like a lot of it is obviously very serious and devotional and spiritual, and like I don't want to minimize BDSM. It's just been like, it's about having fun. But like, as I said in the video from earlier today, I believe, or possibly in one coming up soon, there is BDSM is about having fun or having fun by not having fun. So even if you're not having fun, you should enjoy not having fun, you know? So BDSM is just a really broad experience in terms of what you can get out of it. And I think a lot of people get into it assuming that BDSM is all super duper serious, you know, buttoned up, strict, regimented, latex, leather, yes, mistress, may I, blah, 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 and then like acting like a robot and doing everything exactly perfectly. And that's the sort of imagery you see oftentimes with, you know, dominatrix scenes in movies and other media and TV shows. And it can be that way for a lot of people, but it's certainly not all people or most people. And that's like, I want people to feel like they have permission to make room for fun and joy and experimentation, because I think for me, a lot of my favorite scenes have not only been the ones that are very highly regimented and require a lot of focus and concentration or like a high level of skill, but the fun and creativity and the spontaneity of it, maybe sometimes even, or just like the silliness of it. Like I've had scenes where getting maybe to the topic a little bit of like outdoor scenes, we touched on this with the fox hunt concept, is one of my favorite scenes that I've done that I've always wanted to do again. Maybe I'll have time for it in my own backyard this summer, we'll see. Is I did a scene where I was tied up around a campsite, and then I had people in a group verbally berate me and then throw things at me. We made water balloons, I believe possibly with pudding in them, and I wanted to really do one with eggs, and like it was a really, really good fun time. I very much enjoyed it. It was a little bit of a messy cleanup, but where else are you gonna get to do that, right? Fun is subjective for us kinksters. Yeah, like when I say fun, I guess I more mean having an enjoyable experience, an experience you look back on fondly, or an experience maybe that at bare minimum you don't regret having. Something in that spectrum of feelings, maybe, in the broadest sense. Can't watch tonight, but like the stream and I'll watch it later. Have a great stream, Evie. And everyone, yes, thank you so much. I am glad for you to stop by and say that. If you want to help support the stream, everyone, I haven't gotten a chance to say this yet. You can use a super chat down below. You can use a chat with a little like dollar icon here on YouTube. It'll highlight your thing you want to say up here for me. It'll read it out loud, which is also nice to have. And if you want to leave the stream a like or just put a little heart in the chat or something, that's also great. And thank you so much for your support, because YouTube is cracking down on the swear words and the kink content, and it's a little bit of a struggle at the minute, but it's all good. Reminds me of rubber chickens used for impact. Okay, I literally talk about this in a video. The sheer popularity of rubber chickens. It is a thing. It is a known thing. I would warrant that rubber chickens deserve their own category as much as crops do. Like, that is how ubiquitous they are. Like, everyone thinks it's like, oh, it's funny, unique, it's silly, a rubber chicken. But everyone else has had that exact same idea. Everyone's thinking about rubber chickens. Doing a 1 hour punching bag kicking scene is fun for me. Haha, so much fun giggling. Exactly. Like, you wouldn't think that from the description, like from the outside in a vanilla framework of like, that would be fun. But I mean, yeah, for you, it was fun. That's what it had to be. That's what it got to be. I prefer controlled serenity in a controlled chaotic environment. I mean, if that is great, I love that you have the language to describe exactly what it is you're looking for. Like, that's perfect. Is BDSM more socially oriented than your traditional vanilla, which seems more private? It can be. Statistically, the majority of people who do BDSM do it privately in their own homes, behind closed doors. They never talk about it with other people. They never go to classes or parties or events of any kind. But in the broader scope of BDSM as a community, yeah, I think if you participate in the community and you do it publicly at any level, like, I think there is a pretty big community aspect to it, and that's partly why people enjoy it so much, can be that community aspect. Because I know for myself, like, getting into the kink scene, like, it changed my life, not just because this is my job, but also because I felt like I was in a group of people that understood me, that I could trust with anything I wanted to say, and it felt like I was around people finally who got me, and I really struggled with that for a long time through my teenage years and moving a lot and all of that. I really had difficulty with consistent long-term friendships, and BDSM offered me a way to make connections with people that I felt like I could be my true, whole, honest self around, and it wasn't like confusing or weird that I was ace but also wanted to do these other things and had this type of relationship. Like, all of that just became so much easier, and I think those benefits are something that people don't assume is going to be part of why they enjoy BDSM, but I think sort of the importance of community goes up more over time, and then the importance of like individual scene experiences goes down when you have more experience, because like the community is so wonderful and can be so good. The rubber chickens thing has been a thing for the last 20 years. I mean, that sounds about right. Yeah, hit the like button. Only like less than 20 people liking the stream. We can do better than that. Absolutely. Not that we have to. No pressure. Do it consensually. Gently touch the like button consensually with the button's permission. But if you want to, if that would be fulfilling for you. Anyways, I feel like that was like a good little rambly rant there. Maybe let's go ahead and find another question. All right. Oh, thank you. We got a super chat here from Kayla. Thank you, Kayla. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. And we love the big sticker. It's awesome. All right, let's see. Next question here. We're at the part with the curly straw on the Teletubbies. And then the greetings from Illinois. They get ThriveCon. Yes, there's actually one class for Thrive going on right now, but it's the only one for tonight. Okay, well, if you guys want to go see that class, I will not be upset. On the plus side, it was the Mr.'s day off from his work today, so I made him breakfast in bed. Oh, that's so sweet. That's very nice. I hope that you guys got to enjoy that. Okay, let me preview this one before I say it out loud, because I saw the little red flag here at the beginning for it maybe not being the best. Love having these streams on while I cook dinner. Oh, thank you. I love that. That's pretty much what I do. When I watch live streams, I'm pretty much always like making dinner, doing dishes, doing my skincare. I am a big old multitasker with live streams. What is your opinion on sissy forced by / cuck scenarios, and any ideas or things that you have done or would like to try? I cannot say that I'm personally, as a top or as a submissive, into sissy forced by stuff. I want people to, like, I'm asexual. So first of all, if you want to have sex, I don't want to be near it. And also, if you want to have sex, I hope it's sex that you like and that you don't feel forced into doing. Cuckoldry, I guess could be interesting to play around with, but maybe not in like a penetration sense. Maybe in like a, I'm doing a scene with somebody that you wish you could do with me, but you can't, and so like you're getting cucked out of, like, maybe not a sex act, but like a BDSM thing. I think the one thing that I may be most interested in that's like anywhere near any of that is like strap-on worship. Is that like the same thing? Like I'm like it's not a real anything. That could be like, it could be fun to do, mostly because I like. Anyways, we're not going to psychoanalyze why I think that could be interesting. We're just going to I'm just going to put it out there into the world, and that's like the closest thing to that I am interested in. But, if you want ideas for sissy stuff or cuckoldry, I really recommend checking out Carly DeVille, who we've had on the channel before. I have an interview I did with her, I don't know, maybe 6-7 months ago now. But go check that out if you have not seen it already. Oh no! One of my tweets was no! Okay, wait, sorry. Hold the fucking, I was so no! Illuminati, you can't just fucking blast me to your millions of subscribers like that. One of my tweets was featured in a video on the Illuminati legal shit. No! Oh, my life's over. Okay, that's not great. Okay. Whew. I haven't seen any big increases in my comments or anyone on Twitter saying anything weird to me, but I also only get tweet notifications for mutuals, so that really tamped down on people that are annoying trying to get my attention. But oh god, I think I said something about how I noticed that a lot of channels like Illuminati and Ready to Glare basically were Wikipedia readers. So you guys don't know what happened. I'm gonna give a quick little summary here, in case this somehow ends up becoming more of a thing. So there is a really big YouTube channel that's called Illuminati, and they are known for exposing scams, MLMs, and talking about, maybe the darker underside, seedy underbelly of businesses and online stuff and things like that. They've expanded their content more, I'd say, in the last year to like more general, like bad things on the internet and in real life. And a couple of years ago, maybe at least 3-4 years ago at this point, I used to be like a more regular viewer of like commentary videos like Illuminati and Ready to Glare and things like that. And I stopped watching them because like one of like Ready to Glare would make a video talking about like a murder, and then I would go to the Wikipedia page and I would realize that like 80% of the script was just like verbatim reading a Wikipedia article. And there was somebody who quote tweeted me about, being like, oh, we're expecting like APA citations or MLA citations on our YouTube videos. That was ridiculous. And it's like, no, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking for, when you make a YouTube video talking about somebody being murdered, I want you to like other than just like this, like maybe with like an asterisk at the bottom of the description box, be like, here's my sources. Like just like having a source box is not the same thing as you directly verbatim quoting for the majority of the video one source without letting your audience know that's what you're quoting from. Like when I quote from sources, I don't typically always show the exact URL on screen. It's kind of like a more recent thing I've started to do. But I'll always say like, this is where this is from. I'll link to it if I can link to it. Like basically if it's like maybe a Marilyn Manson video, I will put in the description box every link to every article. And then I'll show on screen like typically like the background of the article, and you guys can kind of tell where it's from. And I'll make it plainly obvious that I am directly quoting from a source and not like trying to put something in my own words and like doing either an indirect quote or a non-verbatim reading of something. Like it's just like, oh, I was really disappointed because I kept seeing so many channels that were getting like hundreds of thousands of views and then like weren't acknowledging that they were basically just reading somebody else's work, and sort of, I feel like, sort of pulling the wool over people's eyes. And there were multiple times that I've watched Illuminati videos where like her video on PETA is like not like, you know, like there's like one thing to have sources and then not be critical of the sources they're using, which is like a separate issue. Like there's a couple of her video topics, I think maybe one she did on maps and one that she did on PETA and a couple others, where like the approach or the citations that she used were like not so great. But yeah, to be clear, this wasn't on Illuminati's video, but one of the drama channels who pounced on the drama going on with her. Oh. Yeah. Petty, I think it was Petty Page was the one who like got on me. Yeah. It was, okay, I'm glad Illuminati, I was like, I don't think Illuminati talked about me because I haven't seen anyone be like, you defamed Illuminati, she needs to sue you for defamation. Like, okay, I think it was probably Petty Page then, because I think she was the one who quote tweeted me and was like, oh my god, are we expecting MLA citations on screen for YouTube videos now? It's like, nobody's asking for that. But, like, you need to be honest with your audience when you're quoting from something and not making it sound like it's your own words. Like, no, this isn't. And also, like, she defended this by being like, actually, Ready to Glare has a master's degree in English, so she knows better than anyone how to cite stuff. And I'm like, well, if she has a fucking master's degree in English, she should definitely know better than to just straight up verbatim read a Wikipedia article. Like, you know, like, that doesn't make it better, girl. This makes it worse. Like, if you have a master's degree, first of all, a master's degree doesn't mean shit. Like, so what? Like, you know, okay, whatever. And, like, I got almost a perfect score on my English ACT. Like, what do you want? Like, we can go back and forth on this all day long. I'm sure I could go toe-to-toe with Ready to Glare on literary analysis any day, and I do not have a degree or a master's degree in English. You know, like, I have a science degree. I had to do a lot of technical writing as part of my degree program. I had to learn how to very thoroughly cite scientific sources as part of that. And fucking English majors do not have ownership over knowledge of citation requirements. Yeah. Like, sorry, somebody having a master's degree doesn't mean they can't make a mistake like that's related to their area of work. And like, I know Ready to Glare has had like a really hard life the last couple years. And my problems with her originate from before this. I know she lost her fiance or her husband, I believe, rather suddenly. She's had a lot of struggle with like mental health, getting back on YouTube, and that is what it is. And I don't want to be too harsh. My only critique is from earlier before that, when she was what I would consider to be maybe her peak of relevance and fame and views and everything, when she was getting consistently hundreds of thousands of views in her videos. Like, I think being like fairly disingenuous, and maybe because of the pressure of having to make videos so quickly, quoting without proper citation. And no, verbatim quoting an entire source and then putting the source in your source document is not proper citation. I'm not expecting anyone. No one has said anything about MLA citations or APA. Like, I don't care. Like, you can put the URL on screen if you want to. Like, I'm not asking for that. All I'm asking is to not pull the wool over your viewers' eyes and make it sound like you're producing original work when you're not, and not being disingenuous and misleading. That's all I want. All I want is English doesn't teach critical thought. Wow, shots fired at English degrees. My eyelashes are awesome. Thank you. I love wearing eyelashes. They're so fun. APA for life. Everyone's like APA citations. Fucking Chicago. I had those like a couple papers I had to write in the Chicago style citations. Oh, the fucking footnotes. Yeah. Reminder, the number of Harvard Law School graduates who seem to know nothing of the law, names protected, to avoid political stuff. Yeah, exactly. Like, you can get a degree from Yale and still not know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, it really doesn't mean anything. Like, it's like, it doesn't, nothing, like, especially when you're working in something like the internet, like, obviously you're not writing a paper, and so maybe you think you don't have to treat it the same standard. I just don't want people to be misled, and I feel like it's, like, is it, like, I didn't even say it was plagiarism. I mean, I think it would count as plagiarism potentially, or, like, incorrect citation of sources, but I'm probably just misleading the audience about, like, your contribution to the voice of the work, if that makes sense. Oh my gosh! I just found you from today. A mistress from Fat Life sent me your archetype video. Loved it. Well, I am glad you found that helpful. That's awesome. I'm being referred to in Fat Life messages. That's great. Okay, all right. I think that's maybe it for Illuminati stuff for the moment. I had a little bit of a panic there for a second. I was like, oh god. But now I remember it was, I think, Petty Page or whoever was like, why are you being mean to my bestie, the Illuminati? She's done nothing wrong. Why are you being ridiculous and having insanely high expectations? I'm like, I don't expect anything. I just expect, I'm also a YouTuber. I just have the same expectation for other people that I have for myself, which is not being misleading about what's your own original thought and what's a quote. Because I have no problem with quotes. Like, I use quotes all the time, but I make it very plainly obvious that I'm using a different source. It's not my own voice. I cite everything as directly as I can based on what YouTube allows. When it's kink content, linking directly ends up being a bit of an issue in terms of, content violation, and like YouTube will, even if I want to post a link, YouTube will detect the link, and this is wild, automatically remove the link. It took me like 6 times to finally make a pinned comment on my last video to where I could cite like video recommendations and sources and stuff, because it kept deleting everything I was directly linking to, and it was really annoying. Like, I just expect, like, make it plainly obvious that you're quoting from somebody else, and like who is saying it and where it's from. And like, I've done that, and I've had people, I think, kind of unfairly get upset at me for like, somebody put a text transcription of a interview on their blog, and I quoted from that, and I said like, I quoted from what it was from, and I said who was saying the quote, and like I read the quote, and they were like, I don't understand why you didn't reach out to me to like clarify what I thought. And I'm like, well, that's not generally like, usually if you're right, like, you don't normally reach out to the author of a blog to be like, do you have further comment on this? Like, I don't know. I just, like, sometimes I'm like, that could be good if I had the time and resources to do that. But like, I don't, as long as I'm not declaring that your words are my words, or misleading somebody into thinking that somebody else's thoughts are my thoughts, or vice versa, that's what really matters. I know people have played the Battlestar Galactica board game where the brig was an actual cage. Wait, what? Wait. Okay. First of all, didn't know there was a board game. Second of all, actual cage. Okay, hold the phone here. We're gonna... Everyone stand by. We're Googling. Googling cage. All right, let's see. Oh, like maybe are you saying that they use an actual cage for the brig? Like put somebody in the brig in... Okay, no, that would make... Now that I've said it out loud, I think that maybe makes more sense and is more likely to be what you're trying to say. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's a good one too. Or like when you're in jail for Monopoly, right? It doesn't have to be Battlestar Galactica. Like probably almost everyone can... In a group of people, somebody's gonna own Monopoly, right? Like you could figure out how to make that work with a cage too. Let's be honest, Mr. Moneybags, he seems very kinky to me. Or Mr. Monopoly, wait. Mr. Peanut, and is it Mr. Monopoly? Is that his name? Moneybags? Fucking whatever his name is. The little guy with the monocle. The little dude. Thanks a lot for the Aftercare video. I have quite a few play partners who don't even know yet what Aftercare is. I'll be directing all of them to that video. Well, I am so glad that you are being a responsible partner and directing people to the Aftercare video, and I hope that it's helpful. The heart is at the bottom of our chat on end, I believe. Okay, cool. I wish I could heart people. Unimoko Bags is a femdom, to be honest. Yes. Or maybe his name is Moneybags Monopoly. Is that his name? I recommend your videos in many FetLife threads, Evie. The channel is an amazing resource, and I love your BDSM 101 playlist. Thank you so much. I don't like. It feels weird to see my name on FetLife sometimes. Like, oh no, I can see people talking about me, but I appreciate the recommendation. Absolutely. Doesn't actually have a monocle. Look it up. Wait, what? Okay, am I just fusing Mr. Peanut and Mr. Monopoly together? Like, what? I think I've just confused Mr. Peanut and Mr. Monopoly. Because Mr. Peanut objectively has a monocle, right? I just Googled it to make sure. Mr. Monopoly. You're right, I guess he doesn't. I just fused Scrooge McDuck and Mr. Peanut and Mr. Monopoly together. Okay, he's called Mr. Monopoly, and he's also called Rich Uncle Pennybags. Or Rich Uncle Milburn Pennybags, according to the official Monopoly fandom wiki. That's funny. Okay, so he's not Moneybags, but he's Pennybags. Like a penny farthing? Is that where that comes from? I don't know if it's English or like the origin of the game, if it's American or like who made this game and where. Oh no, because the American version of Monopoly. Produced the game Rich Uncle. The Parker Brothers. Okay, so it is like originally an American thing. All right, now we all know more about Monopoly. Charles, Entertainment Cheese. Yes, Chuck E. Cheese, baby. Yeah, Everyone with the uncle kink just entered the chat, for sure. Yeah, I do find it weird that I got drawn into YouTuber drama for a second there. I tried to avoid that, but sometimes I'm just like, finally somebody is saying this, because I've held in that shit. I've had private opinions about that for years, seeing content creators do that, and I'm like, okay, I just thought this was like other YouTubers did this, and we were all fine with it, and it's just a thing that everyone does, and somebody was like, hey, actually not a cool thing to do. I was like, thank God, here we go. Ideas for bratting when you're LD. Long distance bratting. Okay, great. First of all, we'd love to hear from the chat about this if anyone is in a long distance bratting relationship. That's sort of an open-ended thing, because that could be like there's punishments, there's scene ideas, there's like how to be a brat long distance. I'm also getting rid of the blanket. Excuse me for a moment. I know, baby. I got rid of the blankie. Please eat. Just get rid of the blankie. Oh, look at the tail. Oh, look at the tail. Are we a good girl? We have enough water? We overheated? We good? Okay. All right. You need to go back to the putty. Just go back. Go back to your little nappy nap. She looks so sleepy. She's like, I'm done. I'm over it. All right. Okay, so ideas for bratting when you're long distance. So I think let's kind of address this piece by piece and talk about how to brat when you're long distance, scene ideas / like punishments for long distance, and then like punishments for long distance. So number one is like how to be a brat when you're long distance. Text messages are great. Audio files are great. Video chats are great. We have so many options for communication here. Just being a little sassy over text message. Those are always good things, especially if your partner has expectations for you about like, you need to do XYZ thing today and check in with me about this by this time, and then not doing it, or like rules lawyering it. Like if your partner tells you to drink 4 glasses of water a day, but then you send them a picture of you drinking water out of a shot glass, because it's clearly not what they intended by that, right? Like that's a good way to be bratty, where it's like you're like malicious compliance, right? Malicious compliance is a good thing to think about. Ideas for bratting long distance: show up unannounced, LOL. Okay, no, don't do that. No traveling without advance notice. That's probably is not. It's a good way to end up in a bad scenario. Respond only in emojis, yes. Or like capitalize weird things, or I don't know, like use baby talk voice when they don't want you to. There's all sorts of ways to like be annoying over text message, or only respond with like random pictures of stuff, right? They're like, how are you doing? And then you send them a picture of like your kitchen countertop, like just a plain kitchen countertop, not like I'm baking something, or like here's my lunch, just like countertop. That's it. That's all you get. Leaving something unacceptable in the video frame, or flashing something. Yeah, I mean, like, make sure that kind of thing's okay. Because, like, your person you're with, like, they could be opening your text messages during a lunch break next to a coworker, and they maybe don't want their coworker to know that, like, they have a person sending them, like, you know, boob photos during lunch, right? Because that could like cause work issues if they're having lunch at work. So be careful about the flashing part. But like, yeah, I mean, it could be like unacceptable stuff in the background, right? Like they tell you that, you know, oh, you have to ask permission before you eat sweets, but then you like send them a picture of your lunch, and then it's just like a pile of cookies, right? Like you're like, you haven't actually eaten the cookies yet, but you're implying that you're going to eat the cookies if they don't do something about it, right? You're sort of baiting them into getting into dom mode, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna touch the button. You told me not to touch the button. I'm gonna touch it. My fingers over the button. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna touch the button. Stop me. Like it's that, where you are trying to provoke the person, and like it's about offering an invitation for play. Basically, you are trying to give the other person an opportunity to opt in to doing a little bit of banter or play with you. And then obviously, as always, long distance, in person, anywhere, you always have to respect it if somebody is like not game for it, and give someone, especially long distance, the opportunity to like be like, hey, I'm not in the mood for this right now, or not right now, or I don't have time. Like, don't do this when somebody's about to have an important work meeting, or they're going to a doctor's appointment that's really important, or they're going to a job interview. Like, be aware of the person's life, and don't do this at a time when it would be inappropriate, but, you know, it can have good options. All right, I'm actually going to open the window, I think. It's a little hot here. I know! I'm opening the window! Let's get some airflow. Oh, we're stretching! Oh, we're stretching! Hi! Little girl! Little girl, you want some pets? You want some pets? Uh-oh. Are we gonna flap over? Oh, we're know every opportunity is an opportunity for pets. Every opportunity is an opportunity for pets. Yes, we love it. We love the pets. We love the pets. Yes, good girl. Alright. Why don't you go lay down, honey? Activated the dog. Whoops. But now I have airflow, which I really need, so yay. Definitely doggo yoga. Where are you gonna go now? There we go. I don't know if I can like... There we go. Oh, don't want to be too loud. There we go. Now you guys get some nice close-up bandit time. Super zoomed in bandit time, actually. There we go. The bandita. The bandita has landed. All right, so I think that's some good ideas for getting into bratting. I think what most people struggle with, long distance, bratting, power exchange in general, non-bratting relationships, is like punishments and enforcement of rules. So I'm going to primarily talk about that because I anticipate that's probably one of your main questions or issues, is that. And all long distance relationships, I believe, require a higher level of trust, especially if you don't really do video chats or things, because you're really trusting your partner to do what you say when you say it, and that's very easy trust to erode because you don't have that reassurance of direct contact the way you do in a real life relationship. So there has to be a very high level of trust. And also, I do think that video calls and things are a lot better, and you have to be very clear about what the expectations are in terms of like, okay, this is a punishment time, this is a scene for fun, versus I really don't want you to do this again and I need to actually punish you so you don't do the things I don't want you to do anymore, and we're maintaining that relationship dynamic. So one, got to be very, very clear when you're doing what you're doing, and then getting into how to do punishments right. I think things that are easier to do long distance would be like reading assignments, book reports, apology letters, essays, writing lines. You could have somebody be on video chat and do corner time with them. You could have somebody do video chat and like spank themselves, hit themselves with something, use a rubber band on themselves. That's quite a popular choice, the like snapping a rubber band. You could have somebody do like predicament stuff or like complicated, like torturous yoga poses. You could have somebody on video like eat like a disgusting food, or have to like hold ice cubes in their mouth, or an onion in their mouth even too, right? Again, like, you know, you have to like hold an onion and then not cry. Like there's lots of options for punishments in there, but really because it requires a higher level of commitment and follow through from the bottom partner to actually do as instructed, it's a lot more difficult to pull off than a real life relationship. And because I don't do long distance BDSM and I am not a brat, the advice I can give here is a little bit more limited than it would be for maybe other subjects, but I will wait and see if we have any follow-up thoughts from other people in the audience about this. Let's scan real quickly. She looks like a Maine Coon cat from certain angles. Yeah, I agree with that. I know, tiny bit of ankle show off there. Standing, walking on Legos or something comparable. Yeah, like having to kneel in Legos, kneel on rice. That's a really classic one too. Legos, rice, blocks, unpopped popcorn kernels. I'm going to tell my fiance about the onion thing. I love that. Yeah, onion gag. I got that idea from a friend from a long time ago. You can also even do like jawbreaker gags too, like the kind you get like at like a bachelorette or like a joke store. Like the giant jawbreakers. Those are good. Nipple clamps are also a good one too. Anything with clamps, right? That could be clothespins somewhere on their body. Could be nipple clamps. Could be a clamp around their tongue, or even on their nose, like on the sort of the philtrum on their nose. That could be a good option too. Onion is nice, ice is awful. And it's funny because onions sort of and ice counteract each other. So like you could start with onion and then do ice. There's all sorts of combinations for things in there. Long distance, self-punishment, video for proof, and for good things, send gifts to the sub. Better yet, send the GIF. Yeah. Like lots of options for that. Video proof is good because even if you can't video chat directly, you can always ask them to record something. You can ask them for like a diary entry describing what they did. And again, you have to sort of trust the person is as committed as you are and, you know, respond appropriately to that in terms of how much effort you put out. I'm not saying just like put a loose jawbreaker in somebody's mouth for the record. Like they make jawbreakers where there's a hole that goes all the way through the middle and like you tie it back. Like it comes with its own like scarf type thing, I think, or like you can put a more heavy duty gag through it. It's not just like a jawbreaker by itself. Like you have a retrieval strap so you avoid choking hazards. Just to be clear, because I don't want anyone to like go out, stuff somebody with a jawbreaker, and then like, oh my god, my girlfriend choked. How did you not warn me this could happen? I thought it would be obvious, but it never is, so it's good to clarify. I use ChatGPT to make a 12,000 word guide to making a BDSM academy, probably 8,000 of non-duplicate stuff. I mean, that sounds like that's a pretty good amount. Is it? But the problem is like ChatGPT will like make up fake citations for things that don't exist. Yes, and there will also be extra time to ask questions at the end of the stream. What do I think about Hot Topic? Modern Hot Topic or historical Hot Topic? Because I really liked historical Hot Topic. It was like the shop I wasn't allowed to go into. And they used to play like loud music. And now I just feel like it's a Funko Pop display store and like pop nerd media, but not really like music or bands as much anymore. I haven't been into a Hot Topic in over 10 years probably. I think I may have gone in there once looking for a Halloween costume piece, but it's been a while. So modern Hot Topic I'm not a fan of, but 10 plus years ago Hot Topic was pretty good. Now I'm just being obnoxious. I'll stop that. That's me bragging to the chat about my straw and not having any more water. Hot Topic has torrent sizes online. Okay, I mean, that is a benefit. Absolutely. I cannot remember the last time I shopped for clothes at Hot Topic. I used to get band t-shirts there, but I never really bought clothing there. Oh, are they owned by the same company? I work at Torrid and I get a discount both there and Hot Topic. Oh. I mean, that makes sense. You'd be surprised the number of places where like you don't realize they're owned by the same parent company, but they are. Okay, I think I covered this one, but it maybe it's a little bit more detailed than the original question, so we're going to go ahead and read it. Any tips for being a brat? Because I enjoy... Alright, it's a little loud. It's a little obnoxious there in the background. Any tips for being a brat? Because I enjoy poking the bear. I have 2 tamers. I mean, wow. You gotta have 2 tamers to keep you in line, huh? I joke. I kid. But one is long distance while one is local. Oh, okay. So one is long distance. I feel like there's also a subreddit that's like about bratting. But when I've gone on there, they go too far with the bratting, and so I don't really want to recommend that because I'm like, oh, there could be like ideas that go too far that aren't like in my mind fully consensual. So you have to be a little bit careful, but I will keep an eye out for follow-up questions just to make sure we're not missing out on anything there and we are able to fully answer the bratting question. Wow, it's already after 7. Okay. 7:05. We are trucking along here. Those button videos are usually just buzz the other person out of the game and not much chance of actual love/dating questions as people get too competitive. Yeah, I feel like I was confused when I watched it before. I'll watch a couple other ones on my own before I watch the kinky one, just so I get a sense of what it's actually supposed to be like. Because I remember watching it before and being like, what's happening? Like, also, what's happening with my dog? What are you doing, dog? What's up, dog? What are you doing, Mommy? You're facing the carpet. What's that about? You did a whole flop. You did like a whole move. Her favorite spot in the room is that back corner right there. She hangs out there all day, every day. She loves it. But yeah, I don't know. It's like, is it a winning thing? Is it a game thing? I don't know. I'm currently sewing together a quilt of all my old emo band shirts. That is so cute. What a great memento. I love that. It'll be a precious memory. And then, like, one day, you know, they could sell for big money. Because one day, like, emo music is going to be, like, in the next generation or so, it's going to be our version of classic rock music, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm like 20, but I'm into Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd a lot. Like, you know, so I think it's going to be like that, where like actual antique vintage emo band t-shirts, even if they're just like cheapo ones from Hot Topic, are going to be valuable, even in quilt form, maybe even more, actually, because it's kind of a novel thing. It's a big tribute to my high school era. I mean, yeah. So did Mid-00's Spencer's Gifts, except it was cheap kink gear. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Spencer's. I mean, I think they still have that, don't they? They kind of still. I think they're known as the more like adult, sleazy sex store, like edgy sex store. Like not quite Adam and Eve or Lovers, but like you could go there and it's like, oh, you can get a bong here and also get like a penis lamp or whatever, you know. I only went into Spencer's once and it was for one specific thing and that was it. So I haven't really browsed their wares before too much. Oh, Arkham Horror is a co-op board game, for the record. Oh, I was picturing... What was I picturing? Because there's like the Arkham Asylum, like Batman games. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. This is a card game. Yeah, because it's part of the like Call of Cthulhu, like the role-playing world. Okay, I was thinking of the whatever Arkham Batman games are. What are those actually called? Arkham Batman. I haven't played these before. Yeah, Arkham Asylum. And Arkham Origins and Arkham City, I believe, are, according to Google, the names. My friend and I once did arm wrestling while being randomly flogged. I mean, that sounds like that would be quite the experience. Okay, who's calling me? Oh, okay. I signed up for a gym, and I signed up through Active and Fit, which is like a benefit for one of the credit cards that I have, and they won't stop calling me to be like, hey, we saw you signed up for our gym. Blah, blah, blah. Like, they're trying to pitch me to sign up for a personal training program, and I'm like, there is no amount of money, even free, that would get me to sign up for a personal trainer at one of these gyms. Absolutely not. I'm not interested. But they call me like at least once a week to be like, hey, I'm so and so with blah 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 gym, and like you should check out your personal training and benefits. And I just don't want. I program my own stuff. I feel pretty confident in the gym outside of like, you know, I'm not powerlifting or anything, but people sometimes they get very, you know, I'm just getting back into it. I've only been going for, I started right before Kink Fest, so I might be like 1, 2, 3, 4. We're getting into week 4, sort of. I mean, I sort of took a break about, when we were doing Kink Fest, so sort of 3 consistent weeks at this point. I did home workouts the entire time during COVID, so I'm not like completely out of shape, but I love going to the gym. But God, I could go without the fucking phone calls pestering me to sign up for a predatory personal training package, because that's what they really make their money on. And I don't really even like this gym. It's just like convenient and it has good equipment, but like it's like not. It's like I miss my old gym in Seattle a lot, but I can't always get what I want, and the only other gym in the area that's like within a reasonable driving distance does not have the equipment I want, so blah blah blah. It is what it is. Honestly, playing FromSoft games is already a form of masochism. That is true. Absolutely. You do have to be a bit of a masochist to be willing to die that many times in a row. Okay, good question, Monty. Question, going out to my first munch, worried about being out of place as a queer and young person. Is the general community welcoming? My scene is small, so there aren't many TNG or queer-specific events. Without knowing anything about where you live, I can't really give a super authoritative answer. In my experience going to different scenes, it's always been different everywhere that I've gone. Like when I was still in university, living in a university town, just because of the nature of being close to a college town, the munches were very diverse in terms of age range and queerness and experience level. When I lived in Seattle, there were so many segmented different munches for different interest groups. And so, the queer munches were for, that's where the queer people went. The femdom events were also very separated and segmented out. And so if you went to like a general munch, it did tend to skew a lot more straight and white compared to the more minority focused groups. But then like my more recent experience has been that like it's a pretty good mix, and even the spaces that are like, they don't like the events don't tend to be drawn as along as many lines of like this category of people so much as like type of munch, right? Like there's a sober munch, there's a board game munch, there's an outdoor munch, there's a rock climbing munch or something. Like the munches are more like centered off of activities versus like types of people that go to them, other than like, the type of person who would like to go rock climbing maybe or something like that. So I would say in a general sense, yes, the kink community is open and accepting, but how queer or young a munch is can be all over the spectrum, right? For especially just like a really general munch in a small community, it could end up being almost entirely people that are queer and around your age, or it could all be 50-year-old truckers, and like you don't really know until you get there. And if they're on FetLife, I would really recommend checking out who is RSVP'd, the event rules. I find that events that tend to skew older and like maybe a little bit less diverse, let's say, they tend to be very sparse on the rules, the guidelines, the expectations, and then that's reflected in who is RSVP'd. And then munches that are more steered towards younger, newer folk and queer folk tend to be very explicitly clear about rules, expectations, advice for new people, all of that. And then again, that's going to be reflected in who is RSVP'd to the party. Yeah. We do a munch where everyone is welcome. Yeah, like it really depends. Like the general events, they can be anywhere from super inclusive and a whole kaleidoscope of different types of people to like general just means it's almost all like 40 to 60-year-old white people, and that's kind of just, and then like male doms run the event, and like the female submissives are still kind of in their sub role even in the munch space, and it's like kind of awkward and weird. But again, like it's like everything is so segmented that I can't really say what your experience is going to be like. And just like, I guess keep in mind that munches are very low pressure social environments by their nature, and so don't feel pressured to stay. If you don't think it's the right group of people, it might take you a couple of chances before you find your right group of people. That's very normal to have to try out different munches, different groups of people, because not everyone has the same philosophy or approach to kink, or the same relationship style, or the same conversational habits, or the same expectations, or like a million things. So just be open-minded. I would say if I was in your shoes and I really wanted to go to just like any munch, I would be willing to go and try it, but I would make sure that I had options to leave early if I wanted to or needed to, either setting up an Uber, driving myself, having something else I wanted to do in the area, like, you know, go to a munch. It's not maybe a great vibe for me, but there's like a store down the street I want to check out, or a park I want to go take a walk in. Like, there's an easy excuse to leave and like have it not be a problem. But also with munches, I haven't really seen, at least usually, people have a lot of issues with leaving early or things like that. Like, it tends to be pretty open-minded in realizing that people are going to come and go, because like if you've gone to the same munch for a long time, you will figure out pretty quickly that most people that go to munches, when you have a new person come in, depending on the munch and the size of the event and the size of the city you're in, I would say anywhere from like maybe a 20 to 50% chance that the person ever comes back again. A lot of people are very occasional munch attenders, or they go once, it's not for them, and they never come back, or they don't make it a priority for whatever reason, or they move. And so people are very used to folks coming and going, and it's not generally a big deal. And it seems like I'm too old for a lot of the better, more suitable groups. Yeah. Also, to mention, the entire dynamics of munches in my area have vastly changed since the Rona. It's so sad. Yeah, I've had that experience too. A lot of, well, I can't really speak to here because I don't really, like, I only know this kind of area from after COVID, but certainly, you know, the ways that events used to be ran have changed a lot, I would say, in general, not just munches, but pretty much everything else too. Thank you, Evie. That's super helpful. Well, I am glad that it helped. You're very welcome. You're such a smiling girl. Do you like that question? What are you doing? You look very stretched out and comfortable. She just has a very funny expression on her face right now. All right, more questions. Let's go. It was interesting being the two Kingsters with a bunch of vanilla people. LOL. Wait, in the arm wrestling thing? Wait, what? Was it a vanilla arm wrestling thing? Okay, wait. We gotta explain that one more. Back it up for a second. Does hog tying a sub before letting them out of chastity with a sex toy nearby count as a game because that happened once? Maybe time it. Yeah, I think if it's like, oh, you have X amount of time before you have to get out, I think we can count that. Big stretch. Big stretchy girl. So funny. Me and my ex would play Mario Kart and party with consequences. I love it. With consequences. Yes. Like you have to have something horrible to you happen to you if you lose. Great. I love it. Primal hide and go seek would be so much fun. Yes, I agree. Escape room like Jigsaw but kinky. Oh my gosh, yeah, like escape rooms. You could totally, well, those are usually like, don't those usually have video monitoring by the staff? Like, you have to be very circumspect with how kinky you made that. But I think you could make an escape room. Or, well, okay, there's going to an escape room place or a rage room. Okay. I really want to go to a rage room at some point. I would like to maybe this summer, this year, I want to go to a rage room and I would like to smash things. I want to smash things, not people, things, okay? That would be fun. But I feel like a rage room or an escape room would be a really fun group kink activity or like a paired activity, especially in the case of the rage room. And again, though, I think those are like video monitored by the staff, so you can't really make it explicitly kinky when you're doing it. But like, if you want to do that, you could also set up your own escape room, like in the house, or Like, I'm sure maybe there's places where you can rent a room to make it in, but I feel like those are usually really curious because it takes a, like, putting together an escape room is like a very labor intensive process. So actually making your own might be kind of difficult. Rage room is like, you just go to the Goodwill and collect a bunch of breakable stuff. So that shouldn't be too difficult. Maybe you build your own escape room, but you start in bondage. Yeah, but then also if you do anything in bondage, it's good to have people watch you anyway. So sort of like, you know, go back to square one there on that one. I like to go to a rage room. Oh, puzzle room? Yeah. Is that different than an escape room? I feel like, are puzzle rooms and escape rooms the same thing or different? I see what there's like the same broad category, right? Like I'm like, isn't an escape room, isn't the puzzle of the escape room how to get out of the room? Is that not a puzzle? We have a bunch here. I've always wanted to do that too. I think it would make a really great group activity. I would not want to do an escape room by myself. I would only do it in the context of a kink group activity and at no other time. I'm having to go around all around the world here to like track my dog today. Oh, make your own escape room. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, build your own escape room. Yeah. Putting together an escape room, even a casual one, is extremely hard. Yeah, people, I mean, I'm sure there's people who make, and I'm just going to Google it so I don't, like, talk out of my ass about this, but I feel like there are people who, like have, like, turn your room into an escape room kit stuff. Oh, the neighbors are screaming outside. Yeah, okay, there are definitely, like, escape room in a box kits. Or like do-it-yourself escape room books. So like with it, if you're like somebody who really likes putting on big events and like maybe you want to host like you could do a house, you could do like a high protocol party meets an escape room. I don't know how you do that yet, but it could be a good option. So think about that. You could definitely have an escape room. Yeah, it's like an escape room house party. Yeah. Okay, so you can definitely, there's ways to like not just have to completely from scratch DIY it. Like you can, there's ways to make it your own. But I think going to an escape room as an experience is usually a lot better than trying to make do with your own house in your own room. And also it's like, it's a known thing. And so like maybe that would make the escape room, like it wouldn't have the same ambiance or feeling to it if it's in a known space. Like, yeah, there's things to consider with that. Absolutely. I've also done a lasso game where a row of bottoms are blindfolded and tied to chairs, and players get one attempt to lasso each one of their shoulders. Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't even know what that game's called, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah, like a lassoing practice, basically, but on bottoms. A dungeon LARP was run once at the wet spot. Yeah. That sounds like such a good idea. Love it. My fiance is on the other side of the room giggling at all these great ideas. Well, I hope that they get put to good use, hopefully at some point. Possibly. Using dice for types of play, duration, amount is fun. Yeah, that's like the only proper use of like those dice that you get from, see, I told you, the back corner of the room is your favorite. Like the bachelorette party, like lick, kiss, rub, touch, squeeze, grab, like, you know, like those bachelorette party dice. You know what I mean? Those are a good option too. Okay, I think answer the one about is BDSM more socially oriented than your traditional vanilla, which seems more private. I think I said that already. I was a virgin sacrifice for a party at a ranch house one time in Montana. That sounds amazing. I would love to get a fancy ranch house and rent that out for a BDSM event. That would be great. It was badass. They pasted me with beer. Oh my god. Okay, I was not expecting the end of that. That's great. You gotta make sure you're getting all the flavors locked in. Was it like a fake spit roasting thing, or was it just like the beer? It was just like, we're just gonna crack open a cold one and then just pour it over you just for no reason. That's funny. Musical bondage. Subs tied down next to each other and gagged with some wind instrument or different tones, and it's played by spanking, obviously. Basically, human musical instrument play. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen people that have like harmonica gags are fairly popular these days, or like kazoos that get turned into gags. You can even turn the musical instrument itself into a form of bondage. Oh, we're on the move again. Oh, where are we going now? We've gone all the way around the world here, little dog. Nowhere is comfortable, apparently. Oh, the kids are outside. I can hear something. I hear something mechanized on the street. You mentioned outdoor play. How does outdoor play differ from public play? It seems to me that at least there is a risk of crossover. Yes, I do think that there is a risk of crossover, or that there is a level of crossover just inherently. So, like, I think you can play outdoors without it being in public, right? You can rent a cabin or an Airbnb or a private campground. You can go way out into the woods in a national forest. You can be in your own backyard if you have like a lot of space or like high privacy fencing and not really any close neighbors. There are definitely ways to there are definitely ways to be able to have outdoor play without it necessarily being public, right? Or doing scenes that are just like in nature, right? You go to a lake, you could I don't know. There's lots of ways you could do it. So like outdoor play is like you can like there is always a risk of it overlapping into public. Like you end up having campground neighbors, or a hiker comes across your scene in the middle of the woods. You thought you were going to be totally alone. Like there's a risk of like exposing someone, but it tends to not be as prevalent or as risky as like doing something in a park maybe. Like I'm not even necessarily saying do something in a park, although all right, there's the motorcycle guy. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But like I'm not even saying like do something in a public park, though that is a popular choice, especially for people that are into like rope bondage and suspension. A lot of people really enjoy doing public suspension, and like, you know, they do it in clothing and like, you know, but like I think people still like it's so popular at this point, and it's been in music videos. I think people can tell it's not like the same thing as like tightrope walking or putting up a hammock. Like there's something about it, I think, that even vanilla people would go, wait, is that a sex thing? Like I'm not a big advocate of doing BDSM like photo bombs in public areas. I think, you know, I don't know, I just don't want to risk it. I think in today's current political climate, with everybody having a phone all the time, like I just, especially people that aren't like me, that don't otherwise have a public presence online, it's very risky to choose to play in public because you never know who's recording you. And you never know when some fucking chud is going to send a video to libs of TikTok and be like, look at the blue-haired feminist exposing the children in public to her bondage sex that she's doing. Isn't this horrible and awful? We must, you know, this is why they must be eliminated or whatever. Like, you have to be very careful, and especially when you are doing it in public, like at a park, there's always going to be the defense of like, what about the children? The children can see you. What about the kids? And like, yeah, I think, you know, kink at Pride is one thing, but parks are explicitly for families and children and for the entire public to be able to enjoy. And your kink is potentially going to impede on other people being able to enjoy the public space, in the same way that like it would be bad taste to host an impromptu 2-hour-long metal concert next to the preschool playground. You know, just like be cognizant and conscientious towards your fellow park goers, and to me that includes not doing kinky visual things in public. You can certainly do things that are subtle under the clothing. You can, like, I've talked about this before in videos of like, you know, you can be wearing headphones and your partner can be like speaking into their phone, like whispering and like sending you naughty things in your ear, or texting you naughty things. You can wear bondage underneath your clothing. You can be wearing a sex toy or a belt or a cock cage or whatever underneath your clothing. Like, there's ways to go out in public that don't disturb the public, but still gives you that sense of like naughtiness without the same level of risk. And I just like, I'm really, really cautious of people and like just knowing how anything and everything can be filmed. And we always sort of expect, oh, that wouldn't happen to me, right? I live in a liberal city. I live here, there, wherever. You know, no one's going to be filming me. I'm sure a lot of people that end up on, you know, Matt Walsh thumbnails or viral TikToks, especially with TikTok, right? Because like with TikTok, like the whole popular genre these days is folks going up and getting a camera in somebody's face and then recording them and recording their reaction to something, right? Like it's basically like old school YouTube pranks that got even elevated to where now people are just like fucking going out there and doing these pranks, air quotes, heavy air quotes, and they are doing things that I would not necessarily say is fully consensual. And you know, it's sort of, now the dialogue is on TikTok that if you are in public, you are like, and by public I mean anything outside of your house, even including even being inside your car, is not good enough. If you are anywhere in public, including inside of a building, inside an elevator, inside of a car, you are fair game for these TikTokers to film. They don't care about your privacy. So just like be very discreet, be very cautious about what you're doing. And I think it's good to be aware of that and take advantage of other opportunities you may have that are going to be a little bit safer, right? Again, like campgrounds, getting an Airbnb, going to a national forest, something that's like really big and spread out, and those are going to be a little bit better for you. I really need to get more water, but we only have half an hour of the stream left, so I don't really want to skedaddle and get more water, but it is also quite hot outside. So will you all forgive me if I take like 2 minutes to go refill my water glass? Because I even have a whole other second water bottle here that's empty. So, you know, I'm out of my alternate's gone, my primary's gone. Yeah, okay. So if you all forgive me, give me 2 minutes. I will be back as quickly as I can. I don't think there's a way I can like leave the bandit video up and like, I guess I can just like turn my camera off and then just like skedaddle real quick and like come back. All right, I'll be back super quick. I'll get some water and BRB. All right, I'm back. I am the disembodied voice of Evie. I have returned. Ta-da! We're back. Okay. Nice cold municipal tap water. Whoop-de-doo. Who put the flower blindfold on us? Oh, that was me. Drink your water. Get a snack. We're back. We're hanging out. Okay, we have about 25 minutes left for questions. So now, oh, we're going in the bed. Now is a good time to answer and ask any questions that I could have missed from earlier. Any last minute things y'all want to talk about. Yes, water is good. All right, let's get into some more questions. Oh, perfect. Oh no, wait, I just answered that one. I feel like I sort of answered the outdoor play versus public play thing. If we want to talk about that more, let me know. We can revisit it, but I feel like I basically said what I wanted to say about that. It's my first time catching your live stream on the actual day. Yay! Glad you could make it. Thank you for being here. Because you listen for and respect our no, we feel safe for saying yes to the like button. True. Consent is always a good thing. I'm starting to feel like shiny hunting in Pokemon is for masochists. That could be. I feel like there's possibly a correlation there. Personally, I'm not into being forced into anything. Everything outlined in our contract I do willingly and enthusiastically. Listen, that's beautiful. I think that, personally for me, is the way to go. It's not everyone's cup of tea with their DS, but I see it. Okay. Good question here. Some of my S-type partners don't want me to provide aftercare, but it's important for me. Also, I'm a switch, originally a submissive, and still struggling with dominance. How do I stay strong as a D-type? Okay, so there's sort of like two questions in here, which is like, some of my S-type partners don't want me to provide aftercare, and then also like staying strong as a D-type. So I think, especially as somebody that was like formerly a submissive, I think if you're anything like me, you're probably more of like a people pleaser. You want people to be happy. You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to push anything. And so you're more naturally likely to go along with what your partners want. And it may be harder for you to stick up for and establish particular boundaries with people. So there's like kids outside, so I'm going to shut the window. The beautiful Bandita smile. Hello, my little beautiful Bandita girl. Okay, so window closed. How to talk about aftercare as a D-type with S-types. I think it's important to remember that as a D-type, you also have your own limits. You also have your own things that you need and require as part of a scene. And I think, and I touched on this a little bit in my aftercare video, but I think it's important to emphasize to them because I think a lot of people are fed this misconception online from like Tumblr, probably TikTok at this point too. A lot of people have started their BDSM journey thinking the reason why we have safe words, limits, boundaries, aftercare, all of that, the reason why we have it is just for S-types and for submissives. It's not for people that are actually like across the whole kink spectrum. It's just for S-types, and the reason we have to have it is because S-types, they go through all the hardship and the hard work during a scene, and then the dominance, like, why would they even need aftercare? Why do they need limits? It's almost kind of seen as ridiculous that a D-type or a dominant or a top or whoever would also need aftercare. But like in reality, like, yeah, like dominants, tops, sadists, whoever, limits still apply to them, boundaries still apply to them. All those types of people can all very much benefit from and need and want aftercare. And so I would just establish, like, as part of your negotiation, if you need or want to provide aftercare or want aftercare from your S-type partner in order to feel comfortable doing a scene, I think you got to say that, right? Of like, when you get to the part of the negotiation where you talk about aftercare, you can bring up like, aftercare is really important to me. I like being able to reconnect after a scene. It helps me, be reassured about whatever thing. It helps me feel more grounded after a scene. Like, talk about why you want the aftercare, and I think you have to be clear about what type of aftercare you are looking for. I think maybe part of the reason why people are averse to aftercare is because they assume it's always about sex, and so they think by agreeing to aftercare they're agreeing to sex. So really make sure that's not a misconception, because I found more and more people than I would expect that like aftercare equals the sexy time after a scene. So be very clear that what you want is cuddling afterwards, some other kind of non-physical or non-sexual physical touch, watching a movie together, having dinner together, having a snack, whatever, just like talking about life stuff, whatever it is you need. And make it very clear that, like, if you want sex, talk about that. If you don't want that, also talk about that. And hopefully, if you're very clear about what your needs and wants are, a S-type will respect that, because it's not a compromise where you are compromising on what you want and need to make your S-type comfortable. I think especially with limits and aftercare, the S-type also has to come and meet you. And if they're just like, no, sorry, I can't give you aftercare, figure it out on your own. Like, I wouldn't really, like, I wouldn't feel comfortable as a top playing with somebody like that who just told me, no, sorry, like, I'm the S-type, I shouldn't have to be providing you aftercare, you know, sucks for you, we're not doing that. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. So, like, be really upfront. And I think by demonstrating that you can stick up for your own boundaries and limits, that is a really good way of showing that you are staying strong as a dominant, that you are not just going along with what other people want you to do or ask for, but that you are also doing things for you that you need. And to me, that seems like a very actually dominant thing to do. Can top drop also occur days after a scene? I think it's less likely for that to happen compared to sub drop, just because of the nature of the chemistry involved. And I think what top drop tends to be more connected to in terms of, like, neurotransmitters or whatever. But I think that it can take time to fully experience top drop. I can't really give you a guideline on, like, the minimum or the maximum amount. Well, minimum would just be immediately after the scene, so that I can't actually say, but, like, anywhere between, like, immediately after to maybe 4 or 5 days after a scene, I think is definitely possible. I think depending on your personal brain chemistry, it could be longer than that. I think that's much more unlikely. I think at that point, if you're experiencing top drop and it's like 7 days out, it's either you did a massive scene that took a lot of work and made you very mentally high for a long time after, or it's unrelated to the scene you did and it's just like, you know, you're sort of like looking at a correlation and assuming that, like, those two things go together when they might not actually. You know, does that make sense? But yeah, there can be a delay with top drop as well. I think it's just less common and it tends to be shorter just because of, like, the feeling of top space and the mental high you get from it is different in a lot of ways from most types of subspace. But let me get to the second part of that question there, because it was, I think we kind of covered one pretty well, but let's talk about being a switch and then struggling with dominance. How do I stay strong as a D-type? Well, I guess on the one hand, I do want to challenge the notion that you have to stay strong as a D-type. I think, like, being kind of the strong rock is one way of being a D-type, but I don't think it's the only way. Like, you can be a lot, like, softer and gentler and still nurturing, but not like this hard, tough person who's, like, strong all the time. I think you can be vulnerable and also still be dominant, but I think a lot of people, like, it's hard to balance that, I guess. So, staying strong as a dominant, I think on the one hand, part of it is taking care of yourself outside of BDSM, right? Like, how's your mental health? How's your job stress? How you sleeping? How you eating? How you have insomnia? Like, you know, if you're not taking care of your physical and mental well-being outside of BDSM, you can kind of fake it for a while inside of BDSM, but at some point it's probably going to catch up to you. At some point the veneer's going to crack. It's going to come through that you're struggling with lack of sleep, or work stress is going to distract you during a scene or something. So make sure that you have addressed it as much as you can, or at least are attempting to address it outside of BDSM. Okay, where are we? Now we're moving again. All right. Oh. There we go. So yes, taking care of yourself outside of the scene is definitely a good thing. And then I think a lot of it ends up going back to boundaries and feeling confident, being very firm and direct. You don't have to be fully confident yet. I think sometimes people that are starting with dominance assume you already have to have everything figured out and already be perfect and be this completely in control, large and in charge, authoritative, confident person. And I think you can get into a headspace where you know you're pretending to be that, even if you haven't actually accomplished being that fully yet, if that makes sense. So it's sort of a fake it till you make it thing where as long as you are acting in a way where you are confident in your decision making and you are not afraid to stick up for your boundaries, be that with like types of scenes that you're doing, sexual contact, aftercare needs, whatever it is, that is a really good way to start with that. And then just being very clear about like where your boundaries are with people. And I think if people can respect that, that's generally a good sign for the relationship and for the scene you're going to have and all the other stuff too. And yeah, I don't know if other people have other thoughts on that in terms of like staying strong as a dominant person. Strength comes in many forms and it changes as one ages. What is key is being mindful about what you can and cannot do and adapt, but I will admit there may be subs that don't want that. Yeah, I mean, it's also like, you know, you're finding your own style of dominance, and that's not gonna be everyone's thing. Not everyone's gonna be into that, and everyone's gonna want the more quiet, thoughtful, pensive dom. That might be you, might not be for everyone. So, you know, don't let your dominance be changed by somebody else's whims. At what age did you first become aware of your kinky nature, and did you embrace it or run from it? It's kind of a weird timeline. I didn't get into the kink scene until I was already in my 20s, when I was in college. And I think it was around then that I was embraced my kinky nature. I didn't really, at that point, I had a, you know, I think we had been together less than a year, so it was like, you know, it wasn't like a 2-week thing, but it wasn't like a multi-year long relationship. I was in a semi-long-ish, you know, for a 20-year-old at least, a semi-long-ish vanilla relationship. I realized while I was in that relationship that I had kink interests, and then we ended up breaking up, and like the first thing I did was like, fuck it, I want to do this thing that I want to do. Now no one can stop me. I don't need permission. I'm just going to go full force into it. And I made a FetLife account. I went to an event. Like, I kind of went once and then kept going and never looked back after that point. Also, thank you for the super chat, Erica. I appreciate that. Thank you. And yeah, I went into it from that point. But I think earlier on in my life, I've said this before, I didn't realize that kink was a thing people did in real life. Like, I was aware of it in the sense of there was erotica that sort of had kink elements to it, or, you know, it was part of the conversation of, like, kinky, edgy, sexy things. It's like teenagers are always constantly trying to one-up each other, right? So it's like, ooh, I heard that so-and-so did this crazy thing with her boyfriend. Like, you know, that was a thing when I was in school still. Not to the same extent as it maybe is today, but it was still there. And I just thought it was something that you would like fantasy role play around, but you didn't actually really do it in real life. I thought kinky stuff was like the domain of just like sexy foreplay, but then we actually did the stuff. It didn't translate into doing it in real life at all. So I was quite shocked when I realized that it existed outside of fantasy. But I would say, you know, from, I couldn't put an age on it, but like, you know, probably early high school, maybe like sophomore, like 14, 15 maybe. I had thoughts that were more like kink related, but I never put the dots together that you could actually do kink until like 5 years later. So it didn't, like, I sort of knew about it. I had an inkling. I didn't run from it or embrace it. I just thought, oh, I can never act on this. And then I just left it alone. So I, you know, as I've said before, I was a very incurious child. I didn't really I wasn't trying to look up porn on the internet. I don't even ever think at any point I ever Googled boobs. I don't even think I was not curious in any way to know about penises or nipples or boobs or genitals, and I was just like happy to not even know about that at all. I did not care about any of that, and so I didn't really do any research about anything related to kink or anything either. I never looked up anything like that because, you know, when you're ace, I cared about reading books and photography and my other hobbies at that age, and sex and kinky things were not any of them. So I left it be. I mean, I really think that also maybe I feel like there was something maybe in the last Twilight book, like, was that Midnight? No, not Midnight Sun. Fucking, what is the order of the books? Because it's Twilight and then New Moon and Eclipse. There's one where, like, they start having sex after they get married, and there's, like, I remember thinking even as a 14-year-old, like, this reads like bad fan fiction. Even at 14, I was a ruthless literary critic. So, yeah, I remember there was a scene in that involves, like, her getting, like, pinned down to the bed and, like, bitten or something, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, what's happening here? This is, like, crazy fan fiction territory. What is going on? I knew of kinky communities online because of DeviantArt. It's funny because I was on DeviantArt all the time with my friends, but because I was on there with my friends, I never really explored outside communities on DeviantArt at all because there was, like, no need for that. My mom had no idea what BDSM or kink was until last year. She's 73. I mean, bless her. Sounds like a very pleasant life. I seriously doubt any ace person looked up boob on a search. I mean, like, I don't want to say, like, no ace person would, because I'm sure that there are plenty of ace people that would, but it's certainly like Breaking Dawn, thank you, yes. Eclipse, there's a fourth one. I was like, is it a trilogy? No, there was, because New Moon was, like, the weird middle book, but then there was a third book that had more, that's when, like, what even was the plot? Ha! ND made me look up boobs because I was supposed to. I mean, yep, that'll do it. The thing to understand about Twilight is it's a Buffy fanfic. No, it's not. Didn't she base it off of, like, having a dream about a sparkly vampire in the woods? Like, I don't think it's... Okay, stop. I don't know why. Okay, no, stop. Okay, somehow I've accidentally highlighted my camera and it's wanting to move around. I don't know how I did that. Mormon Buffy fanfic. I've never heard that before. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just, like, has she read? What about that could be like Buffy? I guess the high school setting? Like, there's nothing in that really, well, I guess Angel and Edward are pretty similar. Okay, I'm thinking about it. I'm seeing the theory slightly, but Bella and Buffy are not in any way similar. Yeah, I thought it was My Chemical Romance. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was like My Chemical Romance and like Muse and shit. I thought she discovered like pop punk music and emo, and it was like I had a dream and then I listened to emo music and then I wrote this book. Oh, it's your conspiracy theory. I mean, valid. I think there could be a connection between Angel and Edward, but I don't know about any of the other characters. Because if it's a Twilight fan fiction, or Twilight's a fan fiction of Buffy, where's Spike? Okay? There's no Spike. There's no Willow, okay? None of the good characters are there. My Chemical Romance were asked to do a song for the Twilight movie, but turned it down. That's probably wise on their part, maybe. I'm oversimplifying, but it's like my mom discovered emo goth stuff and thought, what are sparkly vampires? I mean, yeah, exactly. Oh, no, sorry, not your mom. It's like if a mom discovered emo goth stuff and thought, what are sparkly vampires? I mean, listen. We saw what E.L. James did afterwards, and I think we should have just been grateful for the sparkly vampires that are abstaining from sex because the author is Mormon. Like, It could have been way worse. Could have been way worse in retrospect. And we got worse because of 50 Shades of Grey. That's really the worst thing about Twilight is the fact that it gave us 50 Shades of Grey. No, everything the other way around. 50 Shades of Grey is a Twilight fanfiction, and that is a definite truth. That is a known fact. Spike's everyone's favorite. I think, well, okay, it's not my favorite, but he's like a lot of people's favorite. Look, I will just say this. Attending BYU and getting married at 21 will completely mess with your head. Having hot vampire dreams is mild. I mean, yeah, that's true. You know, yet out of all the things you could do as a repressed Mormon, just thinking about sparkly vampires is not the worst thing you could do on that list. Yeah. It's an understandable mistake. It's a real chicken and egg problem. Remember that movie we watched that was based on a One Direction fanfic? Oh yeah. Or like fucking what was the Polish one? The one with, like, the Italian mafia guy in it, where it was just, like, sex scenes with, like, duct tape between them. 365 Days. Yeah. Oh, that was a ride. That one was also a 50 Shades of Grey fan fiction. So we're multiple layers deep in the fan fiction now. No one mentions, I actually completely forgot we watched the One Direction fan fiction movie. That was great. We should have another movie night soon. We should do a movie night in May. Movie night May. Put your ideas in now for movie night. Because I'm not sure what's currently on the streaming softwares. No one mentions 50 Shades of Grey steals a ton of stuff from Secretary. I mean, but it doesn't even... Okay, here's my argument. What's your argument? Here's my argument. My argument is that 50 Shades of Grey doesn't actually have very many original ideas. It is better understood not as a painting, but as a collage of cutouts from other works. And I wouldn't even say that it steals from Secretary. I would say it steals from erotica tropes as a whole. Because how things like that get popular, how erotica fanfiction gets popular, is off of closely replicating tropes. People that regularly read erotica, like the really devoted people who read like 10 books a month of erotica, like that's their primary interface with, like, that's how they masturbate. It's like a mental, like, they're just like, they're, you know, in the same way that like people watch lots of video, like, you know, video porn, the video pornographies that people like to consume. They don't watch just the same one over and over again. But they have a theme they like, right? Like somebody who's really into, like, MILF porn has, like, certain things they expect. And if you have a mainstream movie with, like, MILF porn elements in it, it's not original. It's taking from the genre's expectations. So I really feel like 50 Shades of Grey it's more of a collection of a bunch of ideas that people expected from fan fiction, from erotica, that they already wanted to see, that were long established genre staples, right? Like the crazy fucking rich guy, the newbie girl fish out of water being introduced to a whole new life, the love at first sight, the romantic happy ending, getting married and having a baby, the randomly impulse purchasing everything, the violent, threatening jealousy, like all of that is very much understood. And like, I've read enough erotica that was published both before and after 50 Shades of Grey that purports to be like kinky fan fiction, kinky erotica, dark erotica, bondage erotica, anything like that. And these tropes are all like very expected, like genre elements, like of like the filthy hot rich guy who sweeps a young naive woman off her feet and she's like, I don't know anything about this, what's BDSM? Like that's very typical. Mentioning tropes, never getting into good analysis. I mean, did you watch Repo the Genetic Opera? I really enjoyed it. I think I watched it a couple years ago, like maybe 5-6 years ago. I don't remember a lot about it, I gotta be honest. I guess I'm really into erotica. I definitely have my preferences, and a lot of stuff I don't like. Right, or like it could also, like, the certain, like, kink activities that you see in a lot of tropes, right? Like, or a lot of versions of this, right? There's sort of like, there's like the risky public sex act. There's the being overwhelmed with pleasure. There's like, you're never like anyone else I've ever had sex with before. Like you're exclusive and special. Sometimes like the fruitless, futile love triangle. That's also part of it too. And as I've often said, I have notes for a BDSM erotica I really want to write one day. And like the plot elements of it, who the characters are going to be, and if something happens to YouTube, knock on wood, or maybe I transition more into writing, and then like YouTube is more of a secondary thing I do occasionally. At some point, I'm trying to get my feet under me in terms of like doing more in person and like online course teaching before I think seriously about writing stuff. But I have a notes for BDSM fiction erotica. Did I say fan fiction? I meant erotica. I like use them synonymously, and I really shouldn't because they're not the same thing. But I do have notes for a BDSM erotica I'd like to write at some point that is like has the tropes that you want, but is still a little like it's like conforming to genre tropes in certain fashions, sort of pushing back on the ones I think can be pushed back on, and then offering a realistic perspective on scenes and sex and all of that. End of stream. Bandit treat? I don't have a treat to give her. I could give her one. I'd have to go get one real quick. Do you guys want to see Bandit get a treat? I also write erotica. Yeah, we got a lot of erotica writers in the room. I love it. I'm writing a sci-fi trilogy right now with some kinky elements. I mean, sci-fi and kink. That's peanut butter and jelly for a lot of folks. A lot of people, especially I found a lot of dominant men get into sci-fi and then get into BDSM stuff afterwards. A lot of slave girl alien races out there in the science fiction universe. If you write a book, erotica, or BDSM information, I'd probably buy it, Evie. I mean, thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence. I know, we're at the end already. I know. Extra snuggles also count. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna go get a little treat, and we'll be right back. And it's gonna be very cute. It's gonna be worth it. Trust me. Baby, did you hear the cat? Did you hear the kitty? I know the kitty meowed when I went by, huh? Oh, I did not. I think I only turned off the pet camera and not my actual camera. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Hi, dog. Do you want to come over here? Come over here. Oh, we're too close. All right. Good girl. Yes, good girl. So good. Yeah, me too. Come here. Hi! Hi, good girl! Are you so good? You got a treat? Yes, good baby. I know. She always wants to lick my hands. She's very obsessed with hand licking. So good. You ate it so fast. You ate it in like 2 seconds. What? Alright, let's go say hello to people in the stream. Boop, 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 boop. Bendita says, thank you very much for watching the stream and for allowing her to get a treat. It was very nice. She appreciates it, and she hopes that you have a good weekend and a good Friday. All right, bye. Bye.